The Saga, rather the sequel to Santa Lusa in New York City, by Jill Hazy, Clearwater, Florida. The reason that Santa had a nervous breakdown last year was because Mrs. Claus was very, very naughty. Miss Santa Christmas present from Mrs. Claus was a biracial baby with elf's ears. She was cheating on him with a young Afro-American elf and had his child. But as self-centered as Mrs. Santa was, she wanted both Santa and Ebony the elf. She wanted her cookies and cream. Santa didn't want to be a swinger, so he left Mrs. Claus and decided to ditch her for good. For the whole year, Santa was in Bellevue behind bars in New York City, where he arrived last year. After a month of shots on Thorazine, Santa woke up drooling and has the Thorazine shuffle. Santa shuffles around and chain smokes Dutch Treat cigars that the city donates to all the patients at Bellevue Hospital. Santa notices a woman with blondish gray hair in a rocking chair singing Puff the Magic Dragon. Santa becomes intrigued with Mary and gets a bit excited. The other patients at the hospital that had been there for a long time, as long as Santa has, Ernie is facing the dim wall, just takes a few steps as though he is marching like a soldier, as he barks out a few words that make no sense at all. This is all Ernie is able to do at this time. He barely eats also, but likes to chain smoke the Dutch treats. Ricardo changes his clothes daily with ladies' clothes and speaks broken English in a high-pitched voice. He dances to the disco music but does the cha-cha-cha and the tango by himself, with a spoon dangling from his mouth as if it is a rose that he painted in the arts and crafts class. Ricardo likes to be called Angelica. Rufus is a tough-looking guy covered with tattoos that he paints on as he digs himself with his nails, trying to pierce himself for body jewelry. He covers himself up with rolls of toilet paper to cover up his daily mess. Ethel is always scared to touch anything at all without her rubber gloves for fear of germs. She repeats herself over and over again, louder and louder. The patients tell Ethel to shut up, but she just doesn't listen, except when she gets so paranoid that she will end up in seclusion once again for acting out. Santa's in shock since he does not know exactly what is going on and where he is. All of a sudden, Nurse Cratchit enters. She grabs Santa's arms and tells him that he's going to see the psychiatrist. Santa sits in his office. Nurse Cratchit is there too. She is a naughty woman and is very mean to all the patients. They all hate Nurse Cratchit. "Hello, Santa. My name is Dr. White." Dr. White has on all white, a white shirt, white socks, and white shoes, and white pants. Not only that, he has a thick white long hair and a ponytail. Dr. White explains to Santa that he is in a mental ward and he needs treatment. Santa sees stars, but they are actually tears shedding down his rosy cheeks. "I'm so depressed," says Santa. "Dr. White, can you help me? I'm afraid that Christmas won't come this year." Dr. White has psychotherapy set up with him and starts working on treating him with other pills. Santa scribbles his name down, shaking from the Thorazine, thinking that Dr. White can help him and that somehow, some way, Christmas will come. He has a glimpse of hope now. The other patients continue on with their daily therapy and pills and their therapeutic activities. Mary now says she is Mary Monroe. She is dressed in a sexy dress and paints marks like moles on, but all over, not just one, but all over his face, as though she has black chicken pox. Mary manages to detain a cigarette holder, but it's a Dutch treat coming on to all the patients who ignore poor Mary except for Santa. Santa gets a kiss from Mary. Nurse Cratchit arrives and gives Mary a handful of pills in her throat and a sip of water. One morning, Santa realizes that he is growing a white beard and that his hair is also turning white and getting longer. "I'm Jesus Christ," yells Santa. "I'm here to save all of you. You will come with me and see that I will perform miracles on each and every one of you. There will be no more bars and locked doors. We will be free. You will come to the other side and be my prophets." Dr. White comes out of his office immediately to guide Santa into his office. Santa dances in, singing, "Oh, little town of Bethlehem." "You know, Dr. White, you are God, and I am Jesus, your son." Nurse Cratchit arrives. She opens Santa's mouth and shoves his new pills, lithium and nave, down his throat. Santa sits down and grabs Mary Magdalene. "I know that you would wait for me, Mary." Mary gets closer to Santa and kisses his feet and wraps a blanket around him. The other patients are very busy doing their own thing for a Bellevue, busy as busy gets. The months are passing by. Mary Magdalene decides to move away from Santa and join the other patients with arts and crafts as Merkinsons embraces her. Ernie is finally coming out of his shell and has been building tin soldiers for months. He even speaks short sentences and smirks a lot and is taking long steps, no longer facing the wall. Ernie realizes that he is not alone, and now that life is worth living. Angelica is designing and drawing stars, bells, and circles, cutting them out with children's scissors and punching holes in them using colored construction paper, and designing each with a special touch. Rufus is no longer cursing at himself. He is now painting murals of white snow, Christmas tree lights, houses with chimneys, and children sleeping in their beds. Rufus has come a long way. He even laughs out loudly, but Rufus tries to pinch Mary and Ethel's asses. This Rufus needs to work on, for he has been locked up for a long time. Ethel has not been seen in seclusion for months now. She has made great progress. She does not repeat herself anymore and no longer uses gloves, only washes her hands intermittently now. She no longer has she been in seclusion. She has her own room. Ethel's talents have turned into knitting and crocheting. She has been making hats, gloves, sweaters, and blankets, all different designs. Ellen has really come out of the box. Go Ethel. Ernie and Ethel have become good friends. Ernie confides in Ethel about his soldier days, and Ethel has let him know what a good man he is, which allows Ernie to get a release of his past. Santa now comes back to Dr. White for one of his many sessions. Dr. White is now wearing a red shirt, red pants, red socks, and red shoes. Santa has gained a lot of weight, grown long white beard, and his hair is white and long. While at Bellevue, besides psychotherapy, he joined an addiction course and gets control of his eating, drug, and smoking disorders. Santa is clean. Dr. White tells Santa how much he has progressed, but labels him as a manic depressive. Santa is now stable on his pills, accepts this, and lo and behold, it is Christmas Eve. Mary comes to Santa, and Santa, mesmerized and in love with Mary, exclaims, "I am Merry Christmas." Santa makes a very loud and strong ho, ho, ho. He gathers up Ernie, Angelica, Bruno, Ethel, and Merry Christmas. All the doors miraculously open. Santa sees the reindeer. They are all there, and so is the Bellevue Hospital van. All the ex-patients place the presents in the van, and Santa and Merry Christmas sit in the sleigh while Santa yells to Rudolph, and they take off over New York City. They put Christmas gifts all under the Christmas trees before midnight. They are all free now. Santa and the patients, and of course, Merry Christmas. Santa remains in New York City and takes over the Waldorf Astoria as his headquarters. Ernie, Angelica, Bruno, and Ethel work year-round, tending to the shop. The reindeer wander around the Waldorf Astoria from now on and take people the streets and rides. Santa and Merry Christmas stay in the penthouse and live happily ever after. Santa yells, "Merry Christmas," and to all a grand year.